Straw Hut Media.
Hello on the Rockers. We are diving into the world of burlesque for the modern era with an all-star cast members from the Vault Speakeasy, Miss Miranda, Miss Tosh, Jerome, aka Horsegurl, and our resident pop culture guru turned burlesque performer, Stephen Dehler is here with me, your sassy host with the sassy most. Raise a glass, let the drinks begin. It's on the rocks, burlesque style.
Thank you for being
Boulevard.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
fasten your seatbelt. Going to be a bumpy night.
Ooh, Lord have mercy, buttons and bows and pantyhose, On the Rocks podcast, the place where we're too glam to give a damn. Want to join us on the road? On the Rocks summer tour is almost to an end. We've been in 10 cities in 2 months. Our summer finale, join us in Albuquerque for New Mexico State Fair on Sunday, September 8th. All day as we once again join Out at the Fair, Gay Days at the Fair. Go to outatthefair.com for tickets and info. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at On the Rocks on Air, and on Facebook On the Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email, book me for a pride, wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris. I don't care. I'll show up. Info at ontherocksradioshow.com. Send us your comments, your guest requests, and guest questions. We actually got questions from some performers themselves that we're going to get to. The show's presented by Straw Hut Media. You can watch and or listen to our now over 382 episodes for free. You can watch us on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV on the Outlet.tv app, Facebook Watch, streaming with pride on SVTV, and on Channel 31 on the East Coast. Hi, East Coast. We proudly tape at UBN Go Studios, your one-stop place for podcasting. Ooh. All right, let's get the show on the road. Burlesque and present day. That was a mouthful. And you know, I can handle a mouthful. Burlesque and present. Yes. Burlesque and present day sensuality and queer sensibility come together for the Vault Speakeasy, now showing in Los Angeles, produced by Voss Events. Let's take a sneak peek, shall we? That is the Vault Speakeasy, yes. Skin and sensuality and style. I want to welcome members from the cast. Miss Miranda, a burlesque and fetish icon since 2003. She's an art graduate as well as a full-time performer and internationally published model. Originally from London, hello. Miranda has performed across 5 continents as one of the first European burlesque performers ever to be granted an extraordinary ability visa to work in the U.S. Since moving to Los Angeles in 2015, almost 10 years, she has become established as one of the most in-demand burlesque performers globally. She's a 2-time New Orleans Princess of Burlesque title holder and has also been featured as a model by Playboy, Honey Burdette, and in Moschino's 2021 fashion film Jungle Red. Please welcome Miss Miranda. Also joining us, no stranger to On the Rocks, Stephen Dehler is a print and runway model, appearing in numerous campaigns for numerous products. He's appeared on screens big and small in a variety of projects, from Drag Race to Will and Grace to Brad Pitt's at Astra. And of course, he's our resident pop culture correspondent, and he continues to heat things up on his social media. He made his burlesque debut just this last year. Please welcome Stephen Dehler.
Yay!
Also joining us, we got a full cast today. Miss Tosh is the queen of glitz and glamour. The world-renowned burlesque star, entrepreneur, designer, and producer is famous for her dazzling haute couture burlesque performances, stunning productions, and LGBTQ plus activism. She's the producer of the Glamour Ball, Envy, and Beauty of Burlesque. And known as an LGBTQ ambassador, that's a mouthful, she advocates for inclusivity and diversity in the entertainment industries, showcasing talent and supporting artists of diverse backgrounds. Miss Tosh is also an established artist and designer with over 10 years of experience in the fashion industry, earning her Bachelor's of Fine Arts degree from the prestigious fashion department at the School of the Arts Institute of Chicago. During her time there, she received scholarship, awards, and sponsorship from Swarovski Crystals for her excellence in design and pattern making. And her passion for glamour inspired her to create luxurious loungewear influenced by old Hollywood starlets and kitsch vibrancy. And we're going to talk all about that. You have to take a look at Miss Harlow dress wraps, by the way. She launched her collection to showcase her ardor for fashion. Hello, Miss Tosh.
Yeah.
And last, but, emphasis on but, certainly not least, Jerome, a.k.a. Horsegurl. What does that mean? We're going to tell you all about it. He's a performer who also makes Western-inspired fetish wear. The brand Horsegurl came about from wanting to put a twist on men's underwear and fashion gear. Slightly camp and over the top, each creation is a love letter to all the queer cowboys and cowgirls. Yeehaw! Please welcome Jerome.
Yeah.
And I have to lower my voice when I say that because it's international. It's Jerome.
Yes, and because
Yes.
you have a very low-pitched voice.
Yes, I do. All right, before we get into your individual careers, because the four of you couldn't be more different from every single background, but you guys come together on stage for a magic evening that's been wowing audience. So before we do a deep dive, tell me a little bit about Vault, this show that you're currently in, what your part in it is, and what sets this show apart from other burlesque shows out there. And Miss Miranda, we'll just start with you.
Well, I think what sets it apart from other shows that I've been a part of is the immersive experience that the customers get to experience before they enter the actual show space, which is super fun. They get to meet all of the performers in photo op sets where they can take photos with us, they can interact with us, and get a little feel for the characters that we're going to be playing in the show, which is super fun. And then they're brought into the show space itself to see a cabaret, burlesque, circus, dance extravaganza.
And what I think that really does for the audience, if you have trepidation of going to such a sexy show, because when I went, I see all ages, all different types of people. Some people are like, they don't know what to expect, you know, and they're like, are people looking at me watching a sexy girl? But doing that immersive experience kind of, it makes everybody at ease, and then you feel inclusive. Like,
It's
it really
a nice
builds
little
that
warm
up.
up. Yeah. And people can interact with us as much or as little as they like, you know, if they're a little shy.
Or if they're just a voyeur and they just want to watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a little bit for everybody, I think, in like throughout the entire show.
I agree.
And Miss Tosh, how is this show kind of different from other burlesque shows that you've done?
Well, I think that this show is very provocative and exciting, which is something that does come with burlesque shows. But I think this show specifically is very in the style of Voss, which is very queer. Yeah. And I love that. And I don't think that's always the central theme of the cast of a burlesque show. And I think that the acts are very overt in expressing that, which is really fun. And also showing like the diversity of that kind of expression. It's very fun. Yeah,
100%. And with our political and social climate right now, what I appreciate too, but it's not a soapbox. You know, even if you're the most conservative and, you know, you're not familiar with the queer community, you're part of the fun. You're part of the jokes. You're part of the sensuality. So by the end of it, your guard is down a little bit.
Yes. I think it's giving everybody permission to be themselves.
Yes. Yeah, be a little naughty if you want to. We're not, you know. And Jerome, how is this a different experience? Because I know you've done shows in Vegas. You did like a Western show too, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So how has this show been different for you? And what do you think it offers LA audiences?
Well, I mean, we said already, it's very immersive. And I think it does help to warm up the audience to get to the show. Because our show is, what's the word? Is frisky the word when you like undress? Is that what?
Oh, it's frisky.
Risque. I think you mean
But it's
risque.
frisky.
It is. It's frisque.
You better trademark that real fast. You better call boss and be like, boss,
Frisque.
I got our next hashtag.
Yeah. Hashtag frisque.
Listen, this language barrier here, but
it works.
So I think it helps them to understand what world they walk in, and it just warms them up. The show I used to do in Vegas, it was really abrupt. It was in your face, and here it's also in your face, but again, it's like a little warm up, a little foreplay before the show starts.
I like that.
And what I've experienced is under everything is the sense of glamour. You know, it's a sense of style. There's obviously a lot of professionalism in it with all of your resumes, but there's been a lot of thought put into the show. And that genuinely comes across. You know, sometimes you see shows like this and it's like, okay, it's more than just, you know, half-naked people running around to songs. There's an art and there's a style to it.
There's a narrative.
Yes. Yeah,
Imagine.
100%.
Imagine that.
No, I can't. In Los Angeles, a narrative?
Narrative? You mean it wasn't just thrown together?
Yeah. Our narrative is usually, hey girl, hey. And then that's
That's a good narrative too.
yeah, well, okay. What is one of your personal favorite moments of the show? And I think this will give the audience a little clue as to what exactly happens in the show.
Oh my God, can I start?
Yes, please. Yeah.
I want to say that my favorite moment in the show is Miss Tosh's act. I think it's just a phenomenal act. It's the last one of the show. And every acts are good. Also, my act is very good, but I appreciate Miss Tosh. I remember I saw her performing the rehearsal. And I think you were wearing sweats and like a white T-shirt.
Oh my God.
And like
I cannot even imagine Miss Tosh in sweats and a T-shirt, by the way.
They're very lucky.
I mean, those are their secrets, but
She just wakes up like that. What are you talking about?
Yeah. That didn't make it to that social media reel.
Anyways, but just that on its own, and you were probably giving like 60%, and it was already way beyond like everything. You know, it's just so good already. Yeah.
What is it about her act? Like, what affected you about it?
Well, there's many things going on during your act, let's be real. But I think just you on your own, your presence, everyone here around the table, presence is amazing. But you just got great presence. You know how to deliver, doing not too much, but not too little. And just the right amount. And also captivating the audience by looking at us and stripping in the right cue, right time. Miranda also does a great job, obviously. Yeah, I'm just lucky to be here, actually. I was just fangirling over all of them.
I know, because we don't want to think that the favorite part about Tasha's performance is that, what goes on during the performance, but you don't want to like give it away.
Yeah.
Can I get a hint?
No, you have to just come to the show
Honestly,
and see it.
That's true.
You really have to see it. Like you don't. There's no hint. It's like you have to see it.
Well, I play Marilyn Monroe in the show.
Yes.
That's some context,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And we've seen that in the trailer. Yes.
And Marilyn has a really exciting speakeasy secret of her love life that she likes to share in the show. And so there's a little bit of a lore that is kind of based on rumors of her and her sexuality. So there you go.
I think that was a good way to hint at it. That was a good way to do it. Yeah.
Marilyn was a little fluid. Okay.
Which she was famously known to be and had, this kind of elusive history about her. So I wanted to honor that and then also, bring some humor and fun and power.
Well, and being elusive is kind of the spirit of burlesque because you're giving the audience what they want, but not everything. You know what I mean?
Everything all at once.
Right. And it's like less is more. And you draw them in. And I think there's a power to that.
Yeah. And then more is more is more is more.
Well. So what's your favorite part of the show?
I mean, I would do the Marilyn number the best. That one's just so much fun. But I mean, for me, because it's like I haven't done that many burlesque shows. I've only done the Cupid's Secret. It's only been my second one. So for me, it's just been really exciting to just like learn the world of burlesque and how I can actually fit in it.
Yeah. Miss Miranda, personal favorite moments?
Oh my gosh. It's tricky. There's one which I feel like if I reveal it, it's going to be a spoiler. We have a very exciting finale act, which it had all of us in stitches during rehearsals.
From laughing or from being in the hospital?
For doing the choreography so off, like all of us looked ridiculous. It was hilarious.
It was challenging to begin with. We mastered it, but the concept is comical. But I guess
Miranda,
one of my wait,
I was saying Miranda and I are wearing things on stage you would never see us wear any other place.
I never would have expected that we would sport such outfits,
such frocks.
Yes, it's a one-off opportunity to see us in something very unusual.
I think you've never probably worn anything like that on stage.
Is it Horsegurl wear? Just be honest. Is it Horsegurl wear?
I want to wear Horsegurl wear.
I wish
made anything for a female body, right?
Not there yet, but I'll make it happen.
Please,
yes.
We volunteer.
Yeah.
Our bodies
we
want
All right, let's talk burlesque in general. And I got this question a few different ways from performers. They think that they're doing burlesque, but then looking at like your resume, they realize they're not doing burlesque. What are the foundations of burlesque that make burlesque and not a strip show, not just a concert dance show?
I think me and Miranda have a lot of opinions.
I feel like you two are probably the best to answer that one.
Yeah, so burlesque, we're going to give a little history, was created during the turn of the century in London and in America around the late 1800s. I have relatives that were performers during that time, which is really cool. But it was originally a blue collar, like working class show where women were liberated to take their clothes off and like claim their independence. I mean, women couldn't even like go walking on the streets without a suitor. So for a lady to take her clothes off in public where men and women could both patron was pretty badass. And so then through history, there's been these like ups and downs with burlesque, but burlesque at its root is stripping. And so people like to sanitize that the stripper and the word stripper came from a burlesque show. And a burlesque show involved more than just the burlesque strip acts. It was comedy, think like Laurel and Hardy, the Three Stooges. There was chorus girls. So us, I think this show really truly sticks to reviving that because we do have large dance numbers like the chorus girl homage. We have our solo acts. We stay true to the striptease element of it.
Yeah, it's kind of a vaudeville style show, really.
Yeah, it really is. And I think the big thing that differentiated vaudeville from burlesque was the stripper in the show. And so it's that kind of combination. It's very exciting, and I think a lot of modern day burlesque shows just focus on the singular striptease star. And so this show really pulls in more than just that, right? But I do think there are some key things that differentiate burlesque dancers in modern time from, traditional like strip club acts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I would certainly expand on that in the sense that I think, personally, I feel what makes a burlesque act into something separate from a strip number, which strip is great too. Neither is better or worse than the other. Burlesque incorporates more of a kind of a character study, I would say. So you're building a specific character with a specific personality and vibe to it, which you're expressing through the music. So it's generally a non-verbal communication of a character using musical theater and using stripping to tell your story.
Yeah, the clothes personify. Yeah. There's like the narrator to our story.
Yeah, yeah. You build your character through your costuming, through your choice of music, and then you tell a story with your...
And talking about the history of burlesque, I'm going to talk about both of your family histories. You are related to J.M. Barrie, and we're talking about, he wrote Peter Pan.
Yes.
And he wrote Peter Pan in 1911. And so we're talking about the late 1800s, talking about the early 1900s. I mean, this is where your family kind of comes from. And we know Peter Pan is fanciful. It's a dreamland, but there's a style and beauty to it. Not like you got to sit down with him and have a chat. But what about his sensibility and what about the story of Peter Pan have you been able to incorporate into your art?
I have never done an act themed around it. One day, maybe. I feel like there's a big pressure if I were ever to do that, to do it in a really, really smart way. And it would probably need to involve flying on wires, which is very expensive and difficult to do. But I do think one of the kind of key themes in the play, which people tend to overlook, is the sexual element to it. It's about puberty. It's about coming into that part of your life and realizing that childhood is over and that there's a magic to childhood, but there's also a magic to adulthood and to being able to experience love in an emotional way and in a physical way. And Peter's tragedy is that he can never experience that because he always remains a child. And everyone wants to focus on how, like, oh, isn't that wonderful that he gets to be a child forever? Yeah. But that's his tragedy. And it's a really interesting story, and it's quite an adult story, and it's very dark.
It's always played up to the lighter parts, and we obviously know the Disney version. We know all the movies that have happened, but and this is what happens to most, I want to say, fairy tales from the past, is all the darkness is usually taken out.
Sanitized.
The actual art of it is taken out because it does deal with these themes. Even like the role of Tinkerbell is such a tragic role because she's so in love. Yeah. And what happens to her, and there's all these stories.
She has her unrequited love, and so does Wendy.
Yeah.
And, it's complex. I don't know what the number would be.
I think the thing that got closest to it was probably the movie Hook with Robin Williams, where he actually like grew up and then like she was back.
I guess, except that like, I don't know. I think there's good stuff about that movie, but generally like, the entire point of Peter was that he couldn't grow up. That was that was the crux of his character.
Mm-hmm.
That was his tragedy. And to be like, oh, look, he grew up.
I guess the tragedy in that movie was just Tinkerbell then.
Yeah.
She was stuck there.
Well, and Hook, too. Hook was such a lonely person at the end of the day. It's like he needed Peter as his foil to be relevant, you know?
And traditionally, Hook would be played by the same actor that played Mr. Darling.
100%.
Which was an interesting connection as well.
But I think Burlesque, it lets us be children in that we live our fantasy, but it also challenges us as an adult. Yeah. It challenges us to question our sensuality, our sexuality, what we're attracted to, what our real fantasies are. Mm-hmm. And also what I saw from going to I went to the Valentine's Burlesque, Cupid's Secret. Yeah. I saw couples walk in, and the way that they walked out was totally different. Oh. And part of it was because of the immersive experience. It was, we put like questions on cards and things like that, but it was also the show. It was the humor of the show, and it was the style of the show. I saw couples like they left hugging and kissing and holding hands, and it was like this magic quality to it.
That is the best thing to see after a show.
Yeah,
like,
but when they walk in, they're a little nervous, and they're like, okay, and they're just on I don't want to say regular date, but it's just on their date night for them. But it's a magical fantasy experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then comedy and humor, I think, is super sexy, right?
Humor and grief and it's so weird that they're so opposite. Yeah. Humor and grief are the only things that bring every single human on this planet together, regardless of gender, sexuality, class. It literally affects all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about your family background a little bit. Your great-great-grandmother performed in vaudeville.
Yes.
Like she's literally was a vaudeville performer.
It's interesting. I have done more research and recently discovered there's even more relatives on my mom's side, which I didn't know and she didn't know. But on my father's side, my great-great-grandmother was known as Maisie Evans and the Banjo Boys. And so she started performing in Chicago all through the Minsky theaters. And then my great-great-grandfather.
And Minsky theaters like that.
Crazy.
Yeah. Like
how I found her too is like American burlesque theater wasn't really documented other than their headshots, but all of them have, and I have some of them, they're stamped on the back and it says the theater, it says their name. And that's how I was able to find images of her. That's right. So cool. And then so I went through the same archive back into my mom's family. And then my great-great-grandparents on that side from Pennsylvania had a burlesque theater. And my great-great-grandfather was a choreographer.
It's in your blood.
Crazy.
It is.
And then so my great-great-aunt, or no, I guess it would be like, so their daughter, so right, my great-grandfather's sister, then married Ted Healy, who created the Three Stooges. So it's been like this crazy legacy.
That style is definitely vaudeville.
Very, very. And it's like influenced Disney, where you think Timon and Pumbaa is like a very classic, vaudeville burlesque style comedy. And the comedians were the stars of burlesque shows.
Yeah.
Right?
They always had the comedian was the anchor that would bring in everybody.
I guess that would be kind of like our host, Peaches, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that I love that about our show is that it does have homage to that structure, but we reinvent it with like modern day kind of storylines or challenging, sexuality and sensuality by just presenting variety and giving people permission to feel what they feel and to experience something sexy that they might not have been exposed to before, or a story that they might have never thought about or heard. So it's great to have that variety and that kind of fearlessness within the cast and in the production. It's cool. Yeah.
I love it. So I want to know from each of you, what was your first exposure ever to anything that was actually burlesque?
Topless dancers. Playboy magazines. Come on, Miranda, what was yours? What was your first booby experience?
Not necessarily booby experience, but like
that feeling of like sensuality, burlesque. Yeah, boobies.
I have tried really, really hard to find an image of what I'm thinking of, and I have not been able to yet. There was a museum in Covent Garden in London called the Theatre Museum, which is no longer open. But I went there as a little kid, maybe 10, 11, and saw what I'm pretty sure was one of the Ziegfeld Follies costumes on display. It was entirely like white feathers, crystals. I think it had kind of
very Miranda.
Yeah,
very Miranda. Miranda has created this costume times 10.
Basically, I have. Yeah, it's lived in my mind rent free for my whole life. And I remember seeing it and saying to my parents, like, I want that. and them kind of being a little bit taken aback by me saying that, because I think it was basically a topless showgirl costume. But
isn't it amazing that you're living your childhood fantasy? We're talking about childhood fantasy. Yeah. You're actually living your art, something that affected
about this
you.
Recently. Yes, and it's a magical thing.
We say we play professional dress up.
Yeah.
Really like little girls playing dress up, and now we get to do it with our sense of like womanhood and what stories we want to share about. I think the misconception is that burlesque is like a lady going, "I'm sexy, look at me" on stage.
So
right,
I got this question a few different ways. So let's just bring up the theme now. What I see from when I first came into burlesque, and I was young, I loved classic Hollywood and all that, but it was certainly when like Dita Von Tess came out with with her brand, and then we started like revisiting that kind of era, and that's when I first like really got into it. But I feel like there's been this shift of female empowerment, where it's like the women they're just not like the beauty thing that we see and are sexually attracted to or used as that. But now there's this empowerment that even if, you're showing us skin, you have the power over the whole audience. You as women are empowered. Can you talk about that kind of shift and how that is the truth of burlesque?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of with regards to contemporary burlesque performers like us is that we essentially are kind of one women shows. We control every single aspect of the acts that we bring to the stage. We conceptualize them. We design the costumes. A lot of us make them ourselves. Tosh and I both design and make all of our costumes ourselves.
And they're amazing. They're so good.
We choose our music. A lot of the time we commission music. We edit it ourselves. We choreograph our numbers.
We help each other. Like literally the day before the show opened, Miranda, I was video mapping the tech that you see in the show and doing the animation, and I couldn't finish rhinestoning my dress, and Miranda's at my kitchen table sewing rhinestones to my dress, and I'm like, if only they knew Miranda.
And you recorded the music.
This music, created the music.
We do everything. So all of it is an expression of who we are. It's very personal to us, and it's a lot more than just kind of wearing an outfit and getting on stage and taking it off.
There's a whole art to it. What the audience sees is just a little tip of the iceberg, and there's this whole foundation below that.
And it's okay if they just see the tip of the iceberg, because ultimately you're creating a fantasy, right? And for those that are interested, you're able to discover more about our process because we're very transparent about it. But even just at the base level, entry level of just seeing the show and experiencing the fantasy, like that is, if it stimulates people in any which way, it art's supposed to be provoking emotion, right? And so whether somebody's like gasped and gagged, or they're turned on and lit, or they're making out with their person that they're there with, it's like, it's about stimulating excitement and emotions and feelings.
It's what they take home as well.
Yes,
I feel like some of these couples went home and maybe the wives felt empowered to strip for their husbands, and they hadn't been naked in front of their husbands for how long?
Yeah.
Or even in queer couples, maybe they experience sensuality in a different way, not just jumping on Grindr, but it's like, let's make a little art to it.
Yeah, it's giving people permission to play.
Yes, in any way that they want to. There's like a little style to that. Jerome, so I know you're an international guy.
Okay.
And you've done shows. Number one, what is the National College of Circus? Like, what is that?
So I went to the National Circus School of Montreal.
Is it a bunch of clowns walking around? Like,
pretty much, but
is it like so basically West Hollywood?
Yeah.
It sounds corny, but I kind of like compare it to like Juilliard. It's like the Juilliard of circus.
I'm making light of it, but no, this is a big thing. Yeah, and there's a skill to every aspect of circus, from clowning to, and you're an aerialist, trapeze artist.
Yeah, and I went there for high school and college, and it's this whole process is very, I think the word is laborious. Yeah, you have to really audition to be the best.
It's cutthroat.
It's cutthroat. It is, and it definitely built character, and it made me who I am today. I still use the tools that I've learned in school for these performances that I'm doing. in the show or Vegas, or now I'm definitely more. I think when I was in school, I was touching more this contemporary aesthetic. Now I'm definitely more. I feel like I'm pivoting to burlesque in some way. I don't want to say I'm doing burlesque because I'm not. But
in this show,
I kind of am. Yeah.
Well,
Boylesque. You got some boylesque.
Second show with them,
This is my second show, and it's funny because
This is not your second show.
well, with Voss, yeah.
Or burlesque?
Well, I mean, Cupid's wasn't burlesque. I was just stripping because I'm a slut.
I had no idea.
And national.
Hey now, all I do in the show is strip.
I was like, who's this boylesque dancer? Why
that part. You strip me. You strip me.
But
now I know you, and I'm like,
I'm lazy.
they're training, stretching every
I'm a lazy
day.
slut.
It's just like,
it's very I'm meditating when I'm stretching. It's very like step by step. But anyways, what I was
Because you're right, it is the Juilliard for circus, and we think of circus is like da, 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 but it's not. It's an art with history like burlesque, and there's that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
burlesque and circus was kind of in tandem, shows
100%,
traveling beside one
definitely.
another.
And they were also shows that all classes could afford to go to.
Yes.
And so that unified, well, I know in America, it unified classes, going through the rough economy of World War I.
Yeah.
But it was something that families could go and couples could go to and afford to see it.
Yeah.
And also, like, for this show, not to again, well, that's what we're talking about, so I'm going to talk about it. But I made my outfit as well. Like, it was not as great as them, but
Yes,
I made.
it is.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Well,
it doesn't have rhinestones. That doesn't mean that it's not as amazing.
No, it's
that's a good point.
I
That is a good
can't make
point.
tooled leather, so
Tooled leather. Is
I mean,
very
working with
special
leather is a
skill.
commitment. Like,
really?
It is.
when
it
you
is.
make that cut, there is no going back.
There's
That
no
is
going
not
back.
Easy.
So I made my outfit, and
How do you measure your own butt, by the way?
wait, but
I mean, that's a naughty question.
Weight
But like,
measure.
yeah, when I saw the Valentine's show, I'm like, I mean, that fits like a T.
well, yeah, the Valentine's show, they did it for me. For the jockstrap, my
Who did
butt
it
is
for
just
you? How'd you get that job?
the wardrobe, that they hired for the show. But what I'm trying to say is that for this show,
He's so cute.
I lose my train of thought. Is I had
You're making him blush, Alexander.
I had to learn
Get
how
mine.
to strip and how to, because they're props. Like
Yep.
every piece of clothing is a piece of prop, and I had to learn how to undress properly and how to manipulate the
This is
clothing.
your first strip act.
Yeah, and
I had no idea.
well, you would have
way
if you
you
saw my
did it-
first performance, because it wasn't the tea. It was kind of messy, but
all of our first performances, we're figuring it out. But
that's fair.
But in the circus, they teach you how to move. You have to be in tune to your body, especially
Yeah.
if you're an aerialist. You have to know, hey, this muscle's not working today. You need to be careful. You need to watch yourself.
Oh yeah, you're always very overly aware of your body, and I there's many times I was sick and I had to push through and
You're
whatsoever.
so modest. He literally is removing his clothes inverted from his ankles in the
Yeah.
sky.
Yeah.
It is so fluid and fantastic. And then does this amazing like crowd interaction. The boys, the girls, they are just like, no one's breaking eye contact with him. You own that stage
very
so
sweet.
hard. It's honest. It's
I'll take it. I'll
so
take it.
true.
I mean, I've had people say that was the best aerialist performance they've ever seen.
Truly.
Thank you. I'll take it. I'll take the
Good,
compliment.
Good.
But I think that does come from the education because you had to put the hours in, you had to put the time in.
Mhm.
And I want to know, you went to this school during your high school and college years. That's also when you're kind of coming into your own. You're going through puberty. You're coming into your own sexuality. Did that play a part in growing up and having to deal
Definitely.
with?
I think going to circus school was definitely a blessing for me because I didn't get bullied. I was surrounded by other queer artists and queer people my age that were passionate about doing what they did. And I never had to come out, really. Like, who can say that? I mean, I think nowadays, like Gen Zs, I think there's like a pivot. And
Gen Z doesn't even give a crap.
that was what I mean.
Like, they're the future of America. Thank God,
Yeah.
because they don't care about labels. They're like, you want to date at this table? Great. Sexy.
Yeah.
Get it.
You got wood.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was definitely lucky. And I'm just happy that I was able to, because I think I was always very creative at a young age, and I was able to push that at a young age as well. And not everybody can say that, and I'm grateful.
And express that through your art. I
Yeah.
mean, when I saw you in the first show, you definitely were telling like a story. We're talking about narratives, and you were doing that through movement, and that comes from your art. Stephen, I would talk about you approaching burlesque because you and I have had conversations because when I saw the first show, I'm like, you came out for the first thing and you play the piano, which you play amazing, which fans are still getting to know that you play the piano so well. Mm-hmm. But on top of that, I was like, oh, that's cute. Okay, now let's ready for the show. And then I saw you walk out. I'm like, oh, that's cute. You walked on stage. And then you were like, da, 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 and you were doing this whole thing. And we talked about, the audition for this run. And we talked about other auditions you've done. And you don't visualize yourself as a dancer, as a type of performer. But this kind of changed your mind as an artist?
Well, yeah. Well, so when Brandon Voss reached out to me, he had just recently learned that I played the piano. So that was the initial pull to have me on the show.
He hasn't seen your YouTube shirtless? Thousands and thousands of views?
I was like, really? You haven't seen it? I was like, I do post videos of me playing, but I guess not often enough. But yeah, so when I was asked to do the show, I was like, I thought I was really just going to be really focus on music. And then they were like, oh, we just have, we usually have an entire cast do an opening and a closing. And then it progressed and they were like, oh, we need someone to play Jack in this Jack and Rose number. And I was like,
which I love. If you're a fan of Titanic, you're like, oh, again, how cute. When's the old lady going to come out? And then Jack and Rose got into it. You're like,
yeah, Miranda tied me up. But so it was.
I'd give a diamond up for that. I'll tell you that
much. So I'm not someone. I mean, I have danced in nightlife for a long time, and I've done certain things here and there, but I've never done something. Nothing that I've done in this aspect. Cupid Secret was my first time doing choreographed numbers, and yeah, this is only my second show that I've ever done.
I never would have guessed.
These two are so incredible. And I was so excited to see more men in a burlesque show. Mm-hmm. You'll usually have a one-off, but also this you guys' bodies are insane. I'm gay and I'm turned on. I'm like, is this what it feels like? I'm like, I haven't been around so much testosterone in a long time. This is great.
That's what I love about the show, and even burlesque in general. It's so fluid.
Yeah.
Like I said, some of the straight couples that came in, you're like, I would never hang out with these people in real life, right? And then they were enjoying everything. They were enjoying the queer aspects of it.
Absolutely,
and I think it's just a very fluid experience. I think maybe that's what you experienced with your career. You were so hard on yourself. You're like, I'm not a dancer. I don't think so.
Well, it was. I was just like, you know what? Well, I told myself. I think I've said this a million times to everyone around me because it's actually been really working for me this year. But I told myself I don't do New Year's resolutions. I really don't believe in that. But I said this year, my whole thing is I'm just going to stop letting fear dictate my decisions because I've just been doing that so heavily. And then right when I really thought about that, 2 weeks later, Brandon hits me up to do this show. And I'm like, I'm fucking terrified. And I was like, I have to do it. And so
I never would have known that you were scared. You were such
you really
a pro.
did a good job at
it's his hair.
containing.
He just puts it in the front.
I just distracted.
I just figured you'd done a ton of stuff like this, and I was like, okay, you turn around, take your pants
Not
off.
in that. I never performed with the singer like Stones in that way, and I never I've never performed. Yeah, not literally everything about that show. Only thing that I was used to is you stripping me on stage. I'm like, oh, I could be naked on stage. That's easy for me.
Miranda, you handled the pants.
But this has been a year for you for change and exploring stuff. And I think as performers, we should always be challenging ourselves. What's next?
Absolutely.
What's next?
Never be complacent.
What's next? 100%. Miranda, you come from London. You've played over 5 continents. You're a global performer. What have you learned from other cultures in terms of theater and burlesque that you wish Americans kind of understood or kind of appreciated?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Honestly, I still feel like the US is my favorite place for burlesque. That's why I ended up moving here.
Well, that was my follow-up question. That's a big move.
Yeah,
that's a big choice.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I moved. I didn't feel like my career had a future in the UK. I still love visiting the UK. I still love performing over there and in Europe occasionally, but I don't feel like I would be able to do what I do as my full-time job anywhere other than here. Yeah. I mean, there are people who do it, but just for me, the style that I do, this is the best place for me. And I'm really grateful to be able to live here and make a living doing what I love. So, yeah.
And doing campaigns, Moschino, obviously, and Playboy. Did you have any trepidation for Playboy? Okay, are we going to do this? Because
not at all. No. But Playboy had been a big ambition for a long time. When I first moved to LA, I used to do Playboy TV had an office in Burbank as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Where I would do.
Look how gorgeous.
This is so fierce.
Stunning.
How good I like
Such
that
a
one.
stunning
She
shoe.
has a legitimate centerfold.
It folds out and everything. It's amazing.
It was my birthday present.
This is all I have right now, but here you go.
She gave it to me in a dirty brown paper bag. It was fantastic.
I just
At a
love
bowling
that.
alley.
At a bowling alley.
Yeah, it was
No,
actually
really,
at a
it really
bowling
was at a
alley,
bowling alley.
But you know how you talked about like Playboy? That was my first exposure to any talk of sexuality or any
Same.
naked person
Same.
in general.
I never even got to see a Playboy as a kid.
You poor thing.
I know. My parents
I did read it for the stories, though.
I found my brother's Playboys.
It was like under my dad's beach towel. You know, it was very exciting.
But
I now own all of his collection. He was like, here you go, kid.
Oh my God.
But you know what's funny? Like some of Stephen King's first published pieces were in Playboy.
Yes,
like it
I
is
did
part
know
of
that.
American
It's
history.
amazing.
Yeah.
it
so
had some
amazing.
amazing contributors in all walks of life. But yes, I did their morning TV show in Burbank a couple of times a week when I first moved here. That was like my first steady job. We'd be fully naked and just walk out in the studio and help interview their guests and stuff. It was super fun. One time we had to make fantasy dildos out of Play-Doh. That was the kind of stuff they would just be like,
I'll tell you,
"This is what
Play-Doh
we're
does
doing
not
today."
hold up. I won't tell you how I know that, but it does not hold up.
I think it was kind of like concept dildos. They certainly wouldn't have been good to actually use, but we were just,
And it's the visualization. I remember watching Playboy TV, and there was a lot of style to that as well.
yeah, it was great. It was
Yeah.
great. And every single person I worked with was delightful. Never had anyone be creepy ever. Just best experiences. So getting to be a part of the magazine, that was something I always hoped I might be able to achieve. So when the opportunity came along, I was very excited.
How did your family respond to that?
My family are amazing. They are very supportive of what I do. I think kind of to begin with, it was a little more complicated because they just didn't really know where all of it was going, whether it was going to be a viable career for me. I was doing it at the same time as going to art college.
Yep.
And they were kind of like, well, you've got this graphic design degree. Maybe you should be a graphic designer.
Can you imagine?
Which is probably as hard to like push through in that line
And
of field as
so
well.
hard to actually get a job these days, especially.
But all the
Especially-
skills you use still.
Yeah, but I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah,
We're
yes,
both
I can-
computer
I
nerds,
can
me and
use
Miranda.
them. I
Yeah.
can use those skills myself for what I do
Yeah.
for my own business, so that's good. And I think, especially after I got the visa to perform here, they were like, okay,
Well, that was huge in itself.
She's pretty good at this.
Because
thing.
getting that extraordinary talent visa is very hard.
especially for something
to
kind
get.
of niche like
Yeah.
Mhm.
burlesque, it's something that isn't often recognized as a high art form, so to have kind of my little certificate from the American Board of Dramatic Arts saying
Huge.
that,
That is very huge.
I meet the
Mhm.
standard of excellence, I'm like, okay.
And we're dealing with this censorship issue now in America, and we're
Yes.
dealing with, I thought sexuality and expressing ourselves artistically or however you want to do porn, fine. I thought it was getting more mainstream and more accepted, and now we know what's happening politically. So for you to be able to get that, that's just part of this battle that we all have. And it's like, let's talk about who we
Yeah,
are and
absolutely.
what our art is. I want to talk about design because you are a designer. How did design go to doing burlesque like so hardcore?
Yeah, well, I also went to art college, right? And so I had this vision that I would be, in some atelier in Paris embroidering my life away. And I was happy to do it. I was fine. I was trained by some amazing people that worked for Alexander McQueen and Givenchy. And so
you got scholarships and everything. Like the path was there for you.
Yeah, Swarovski sponsored my college education, which was fun. And
Who can say that?
Yeah.
Did you go to class every day with like a bedazzled backpack?
Maybe.
The bedazzled sidekick. Maybe people had those.
I wish I could fit into the model sizes that I had. But I was like, they're pretty. They're in this garment bag forever. But yeah, no, then ironically, then that became, a big element of my career path. And so, I was at the same time working to pay for the rest of the education through the strip club. And I was working as a receptionist and failed bartender. We talked about that. And just different things. But then also, trying to figure out, something that to do for fun. So I became really good friends with a lot of the original Drag Race girls that were in Chicago. And I had a party in Chicago at a club called Berlin, which is no longer, called Looks. So a lot of the girls would perform with me, like Shea Coulee and Violet and Pearl and all that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Kimchi and all that. So we had this party and we would all get up on stage. And I mean, when I said stage, it's like a go-go box, right? And we'd all get like $50 and just, you know, in Chicago, it's so frigid and miserable that, you know, our joy and color was trying to upstage each other. So
That was fresh.
we did the best that we could.
And you're like, I got the crystals, girl.
Yeah. And then the queens, you know, brought me in and it was a part of my coming out. And they're like, yeah, we know. That's why you're here. And so, you know, we created these dazzling outfits. And so people wanted this dress that I wear because I made this for myself to go and change in and out of. And this dress has been selling for almost a decade now. Crazy. My bread and butter. I'm so thankful for this wrap dress.
Miss Tosh design.
Yeah,
And
seriously.
It's so comfy.
It's so pretty.
It's the wraparound dress,
Yeah,
right?
so it doesn't mess your hair up. It can be kind of erotic. You can throw it into
I want one.
Baby, I got one. I got one.
We need
And
to fill
so
it out.
and so it just, you know.
Give me a scarf.
Oh, I go.
Where's the
all
Harlow
size.
velvet smoking jackets?
True. Baby, we can get there.
Wraparound smoking jacket? I'm all for that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You can be my first model.
I'm not sure I'm a sample size, but okay.
Oh, I don't do that. We're beyond that.
Sample
We're
size is
evolved
done.
from that. Yeah. But, you know, so I was trying to basically, you know, pay my bills and eat. And I was like, what can I do? Okay, some of these girls want these dresses, so I'll just make them. And then had a wonderful problem where it just became too much for me to sew myself. I sewed them myself for
It takes
5 years.
hours of production.
5 years.
I don't know how you did that. I don't know how your hands are still functioning.
Oh, babe, I got arthritis in my fingers. Definitely here.
And that's what people don't realize when you're in business for yourself,
Yeah.
when you have to do everything else, there's exhaustion too, where you physically can't, you
Yeah.
mentally can't do
Yeah.
everything. And there comes that time where you're just like,
Oh, yeah.
I need to take a breath. I
Yeah.
can't.
I see a chiropractor twice a week. This is what we're doing, right? You know, we have to
Yeah.
maintain our vessels, especially when our vessels carry our art, right? And so the clothing line really became a doorway for me. And then I was able to use that income to then create my dream ideas. And I had this fear of like, well, I'm going to make this crazy unicorn in this wildly expensive costume. I hope somebody wants to come see it. Thankfully, I did that and took that risk. And then since then, I've made costumes for Beyonce. I've made costumes for all sorts of artists. I've made puppets for interesting people.
I mean, you've also literally built set designs. You've been a puppeteer
Yeah.
in a film with like
Machine Gun Kelly.
celebrities.
Yeah, and Megan Fox were in that one. Or they commissioned me to do that. And
You've done
and-
production design. Like you just do it all.
I used to do stop motion animation for many years, and for like Apple commercials and all that kind of stuff. And then the stop motion land moved to Oregon and I did not follow. So, you know,
Can you imagine though, like all dressed up and like wanting to perform and you're like,
I mean, apparently it's a great town for lesbians. Maybe that would have been a good choice.
why lesbians? Because they're good with their fingers?
No, I just think there's a lot of lesbians in Oregon.
Because they're good with, because they have to move the little things. Like
Yeah,
little.
I mean, it makes sense.
Oh my God, that's so inappropriate.
Things, Lord.
Anyway.
But let's talk about you being part of the queer community. You know, men come to see Burlesque and they have this vision of this woman being part of the queer community. And I think you talked about this in one of your interviews.
Yeah.
There's been a little pushback because you are a member of the queer community, because you're outspoken about it, because you do advocate for people of all body sizes, colors, and sexualities.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that and working through that?
Yeah. And I think just point blank, being a woman in business and being a female producer in a male dominated industry, it's very difficult to get people on board. But most of my productions are completely self-funded and all that for that reason. I've never had an investor for that reason. I think people become very intimidated by a woman that knows what she wants and how she wants to do it. So I do ruffle a lot of feathers because I do things my own way with my own money, right?
Yeah.
But then when it comes to my, you know, sexual identity, being a lesbian, I've been met with a lot of homophobia, a lot of
That's so
that
insane
kind
to
of
me.
thing. Yeah, it's bizarre. Lots of I mean, homophobia is very, very common in the world, but
I thought we were getting better, but apparently we're not.
And I just think that comes from just people's fears and insecurities of women not needing a man in her life, right? And wanting me to present more masculine for them to feel comfortable.
Isn't that weird? Like, we have an idea of what we want a lesbian to look like, sound like, what we need them to look like and sound like. It's so weird.
Exactly.
And then there's this term passed around called passable. And it's like, well, that's so insulting. Like,
It's
I'm
so
me.
rude.
Yeah.
Nobody ever calls me passable, but I'm saying.
Yeah.
Wouldn't the term like used to be like lipstick lesbian or something?
Those
like
terms,
that?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, even like speaking about that, you know, I had dated somebody who was from a very different generation of lesbians than I was, and wanted me to be the stereotypical submissive kind of lipstick lesbian of that era. And it shocked me because I was like, why am I role playing a 1950s heterosexual relationship with a woman?
Yeah.
I was like, no, girl, I'm gonna bend you over. And you're gonna make my breakfast while daddy goes and pays the bills.
And that's why Ellen can't walk today.
That's why Ellen can't walk. That's why I love you, Tosh.
But you know, it's just this I think that my first, going back to one of those earlier questions, my first experience with anything burlesque was that I felt like I could relate to sexually as my identity was seeing Marlene Dietrich in Morocco.
She was one of the only classic Hollywood stars that got away with whatever she wanted.
Fantastic.
And people don't realize that when she was on film, there was, I think it was called the Hayes Act, or there was some act where people couldn't wear clothes of opposite whatever. And
Not at all. Yeah.
Right. She got away with them. People were like, oh, that's Marlene Dietrich.
And then she saunters through a crowd of men, for those who haven't seen it. She's fully tuxedoed, singing this song, saunters through a crowd of men, approaches the only woman who they dressed in white. She has a flower in her hair, and she looks at the woman. She goes, may I have this? And then deflowers her, takes the flower from her hair, and then kisses her. Scandalous.
And it's part of our cinema history.
And all the men were applauding, thinking of this scene as satire. But Marlene Dietrich was very, very, bisexual or even pansexual.
She did it in real life. And so the students know if she's coming to the party, she's going to come dressed up as like,
yeah, she would famously,
she's going to go home with whoever.
She would famously seduce the biggest stars, men and women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a girl.
I love it. I adore her. And when I saw that, I was like, I am in that club.
There's a lot of people from our cinema history, from our community, that have fought for where we are now.
Yes.
Yeah. And some snuck it by like she did.
Yeah. And I think it's because it wasn't like she got permission to do this. I think it's because she just didn't allow anybody. She took no shit. Like, she did not allow anyone to tell her what she could and couldn't do.
Yeah.
And I think having that kind of ferociousness is very special. And then, coming into my career, and like Miranda was saying, we create these characters. To decide to be a platinum blonde lesbian burlesque dancer was met with a lot of adversity. But I wanted to give that blonde bombshell archetype that queer permission that those women never got and had to hide, and so many of them were bi or gay,
Well, and we're finding out more. Everybody is on some level of the spectrum. We have so many A-list celebrities that are now coming out as bisexual, who are married and have kids, and they're A-list celebrities. And it's like, okay, now we're actually telling the honesty of who we are. And it's from people like Marlene Dietrich. It was like,
yes, exactly.
People like from you. It's like, yes.
Even like the Anna Nicole Smith documentary that came out, and her whole lesbian relationships that came forward. These things that I think these, the blonde bombshell sex icon that seems to be a designed archetype for men, maybe she created her own archetype for her, and it actually can be for women too, right? And so it changes the whole conversation about the bombshell, and maybe it is a queer archetype.
Boom.
Boom.
Clip it, post
Mic
it,
drop.
like social media.
I mean, I think so too, but in the sense of this from gay men, like gay men love Marilyn Monroe and gay men love the blonde shell archetype. So it has always been a queer archetype in that aspect.
What was designed by queer people?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing.
The artists,
and there were
the
so many gay
designers,
directors that are like, yeah, direct this.
the hair, the whole
Everything.
team.
Yeah.
The choreographers, everything.
Yeah. And we had Alonso Duralde, who just wrote Hollywood Pride, and it's the most extensive look at Hollywood queer history. And we talked about the role of a diva with the queer community. Why do gay men love divas so much? You know, straight boys get to watch Charles Manson, or no, not Charles.
Oh wow!
Charles Bronson. Sorry, not Charles Manson.
Different.
Woo!
That true crime stuff coming through.
Right?
Or
Watching too many documentaries, crime documentaries.
they get to go like shooting with their dads, or they go fishing with their dads. And if you're a gay boy, that's not like, you know, but then they see these women that are empowered without needing any of that.
Mhm.
And, you know, they still come in. Mary Tyler Moore could walk in and throw her hat and everybody pays attention to her.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why, you know, gay men.
It's a different type
Yeah.
of power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so talking about sensuality and all that, Jerome, we have to talk about Horsegurl
Yeah.
because you celebrate sexuality, I would say in an overt way, but at the same time, it's not overt. It's just very sensual and artistic. I've never seen items like Horsegurl. So please, I want to know how somebody that went to circus, you know, college, who's international, is so transfixed with Western culture.
I think I've always enjoyed Western and country aesthetic. I think like a really broad example, Brokeback Mountain, like as a gay kid, you know, I don't know, like those aesthetic, it's so hot. Like it's just, cowboys are just so hot.
Is it the way that the jeans fit a guy?
I
Is it
guess
just,
so, like
the
the
sweat and the
Wranglers,
leather?
and I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, and like the labor, like working in the field and the farms. I don't know. There's something so feral, I guess, and like whatever. I don't know. So I was always really into it and that aesthetic. Actually, the show I did in Vegas was Western aesthetic as well.
And they gave you like a cute little bio and a cute little like personality.
They did, but the thing that kind of sucked is that I had to play a straight guy, which is, I think this is like going against really what we're saying right now. Is like I wish I could have been just my queer self, or not even like just not have to play a straight guy again, because that's often what.
But it was one of those Vegas shows that the tourists come see, and it's like
yeah. Anyway, so the Western aesthetic came mostly from this show as well, and because being a circus artist is short-lived because of injuries and your body, I was trying to pivot to something else. I really wanted to do a harness that had stamp, like the stamp leather where there's like acorns and horses. I thought, how cool would that be, like a bulldog harness, just to switch it up from the typical black harnesses. And it got such a good response that I kind of just ran with it. And now I have a business. It's a small business, but it's like my business.
Because it's still all handmade. Like you can only keep out. So that means that you were kind of in the kink community if you're into harnesses and all that, right?
Am I in the kink community? I mean,
yeah,
I guess so.
Aren't we all?
For you.
Yeah.
But, you know, this talks about our idea of like what we fantasize about. And, you know, kink is different for everybody.
Yeah.
So, but you were in the harness world, or you had that sensibility. So this is a meshing of those two.
Yeah. And I think even for let's say like back in the days, I guess, those leather daddies.
You're like 20 years old. I mean, back in the days.
I was thinking like Tom of Finland meets Western.
Yeah, but I think like the leather daddies that are older than me, I think they gatekeep a little bit sometimes, like the leather world and the BDSM world. And I think I wanted to appropriate my own version of what BDSM and kinkwear is. And that Western that's a little bit camp was more in tune with what I enjoyed. So that's why I did it. And then I found that there's a whole community that also wants that and also enjoy that. And I've gotten a lot of messages from people saying they grew up on farms and that side of them was always repressed and they were having a lot of, insecurities and my aesthetic and my pieces allowed them to kind of rekindle, I guess that's the word, with this side of themselves that they kind of repressed all this time because, you know, it's so conservative in those areas. And when I get those messages of people kind of just expressing themselves in my pieces because they were so repressed, I don't know, it's just it's like the best compliment I could ever get. It's so fun.
100%. We know people in certain areas that are not surrounded by gay communities, they're going back in the closet because of what's happening politically and socially. And I think your collection is such a celebration of feminine and masculine, bringing it together and exploring. It's also exploring your body too.
Yeah, it is. And it's also not, I think you said it exactly right. Like, it's not being scared of maybe being a bit more feminine. Like, it doesn't have to be so masculine all the time. And I think, let's say straight men that own their femininity is so masculine to me, because it's like, oh, you're so confident that you don't care about what people think. If you want to put nail polish or want to wear a skirt, I don't know, some do. And I think to me that makes them even more masculine for some reason, because they're just so confident. And
it's that like fearlessness.
That
freedom to be yourself.
Yeah. And that just means that you're not scared, you're confident with yourself, and you're comfortable in your own skin. And I appreciate that, because I think we need more of that. And I think my pieces allow also people to feel empowered in that sense as well. That's my journey.
Which I think is also the power of burlesque, like we've talked about. You know, it's so empowering. We've certainly talked about a lot. We could talk hours and hours. We're going to end the show the best way I know how. And that's with Steven's quick pop culture report. So we all weigh in on what's happening pop culture-wise, just to keep all of our listeners in tune. I have 2 more pages of questions. Yeah, as is the case.
Figures.
Yeah. Do we have the sound cue? Okay. Hit it. There it is. On the Rocks is proud to present Pop on the Rocks, your daily dose of Dehler with your host, Stephen Dehler, bringing us the latest dish in pop culture. Take it away, Stephen. I'll be in the corner drinking.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
It's 2 years.
It's been a while. Well, you know, a lot of stuff actually happened today, so I had to redo my pop culture report. But first up on our list is J-Lo officially filed for divorce today.
Oh, wow.
We knew it was coming.
It was very apparent. I mean, I think I went to get kind of tell, but apparently, TMZ reports there is no prenup.
No prenup there.
I think it's going to be real messy.
I don't know. So my opinion is, I think that they care about each other. I think they realize that they're in different parts of their life. They're both going through totally separate things. I think that it's going to be more amicable than we think.
I think so. I don't know. I mean, I feel like, you know, what the This Is Me Now, that whole thing was pretty bad for her. That, I mean,
okay, we're giving opinions. Anyway, I think the media decided from one day to the next that we don't like J-Lo. All of a sudden, all these weird comments started coming about what an awful person she is. We started seeing all this stuff. The media told us her Netflix film was not going to be good. The media told us her...
Do you think that was his team?
I haven't heard that conspiracy.
I don't know, but I'm saying
was he going to afford Casey Affleck to go
I don't know. To out of nowhere, all of a sudden J-Lo's getting all of this hate towards her.
That's interesting.
And then now they're going. And now it's during the time we're all kind of like, oh, she kind of. I feel like they're going through a divorce, or they're about to get divorced, and then now they're getting divorced. And after all of that.
Be honest. Has any one of us seen them happy when they came back together?
Not me.
I don't.
How many memes did we see of just Ben Affleck smoking a cigarette and just being completely miserable?
Even at the awards, he's like this.
What was the whole campaign with, what was it, Dunkin' Donuts or whatever?
Oh yeah.
And, they just seemed so miserable throughout that whole thing.
I'm just always suspicious of celebrity relationships.
That's a whole other thing. We know most of them are coordinated. There's a lot of people in the closet talking about LGBTQ representation.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are in the closet, they're going to be in the closet till the day they die. But you're right. A lot of it is arranged.
Ben Affleck just gives me the creeps.
Does he?
Yeah,
he
just does.
Yeah.
I don't have a specific reason. He just gives me the creeps.
Who's his best friend's name again? The other actor.
Matt Damon.
Yeah. So
How do you forget Matt Damon?
I don't know. He's kind of boring, but
It's forgettable. Yeah,
he is forgettable, right? But that's the whole rumor, is that their friendship has not only been a friendship.
Wait, an English person telling somebody else that they're unforgettable?
I'm sorry, he is.
Wow. The see,
Look how unhappy he is. They're parking. Look how unhappy. He's like, you're not. He's like, you're not Selena. Get in the car.
Miserable. Anyway, on to the
I'm
next.
just kidding. By the way, I'm just like, the only reason I said that is because most English people are very reserved, and it's like,
Hey, I've been
well,
here a
that's why Miranda
I
moves to the
left.
States.
I left for a reason.
Yeah. She's definitely not reserved.
I didn't fit in there.
Having your first job in LA, being fully naked on a show like 2 times a week. That requires some. All right, and next is.
Wait, I don't know. Jerome's point of view.
I know.
Oh, I have absolutely no point of view. I couldn't care less about J-Lo and Ben Affleck.
I went to the Juilliard Circus.
Next we have up is so MTV is awarding Katy Perry with the MTV Vanguard Award, which is like
Michael Jackson Award.
Yes, they changed it to Vanguard after 2021 or 2020. Yeah. Well, she the last time she received another top honor from that was from MTV was in 2011 for Firework.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
I know.
We know MTV gives out awards they're like giveaways.
Well, that's the thing, and like she'll be the 10th artist to receive both Video of the Year and the Vanguard Award, following Madonna, R.E.M., Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, Beyonce, Rihanna, Pink, Missy Elliott. But a lot of people are like thinking that this is her team, basically, because her latest album 143, which I found a very like odd name to name her album 143. It's like beeper code from the 90s and 2000s.
What does that even mean? I don't know what
143 means I love you in beeper code.
Oh. Like the 90s beepers?
Like pager codes. Like 143 means
Miss
like so.
Tosh is like, what's the 90s?
Yeah, so because I and then four is love and then like love you. So 143 I love you. That's what 143 means.
I had a beeper
old enough to
for 1 year, and we spelled
40.
boobs out. Is what we spelled.
I know she's older than me because I know she's older than me.
Okay.
Yeah, because but
because I don't know what a beaver.
Yeah, 143. Well, I mean, I only know that because it's literally like the only thing I knew from pager code. But anyway, so that album has done terribly, and the first single and the second single has done terribly. Because she's notoriously being dragged online for working with Luke, Dr. Luke.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's like the hot topic. Whether you know Katy Perry, Jerome, are you in pop culture at all?
No, I am.
In my mind, you're just like making crepes every morning. No.
He's I'm too busy with my leather.
I kind of live under a rock, but yeah, I do know about the Katy Perry gossip.
Yeah, because she's working with Dr. Luke, who notoriously, with him and Kesha.
The only reason I know any of this is because my partner keeps me up to date.
Really?
Oh yes,
yeah, she does.
I believe that. Yeah.
Do you enjoy it, or you're like, oh god, here I go again?
No, of course I appreciate it, but again, I think I'm so preoccupied that I try to stay away from it.
Well, you guys are so busy too.
Yeah,
and you're like involved in real art, not like lip sync art, you know?
Yeah.
Well, my thing is that they're awarding it to Katy Perry, who's having like the worst like album rollout that she's like anyone's actually ever had.
Though.
But like I feel like they haven't awarded Christina Aguilera yet with that.
That's shocking.
And I'm like, and she's like really having a resurgence right now.
So let's move to that next subject.
Well,
she's on the list.
Well, yeah, she's on the list, but I'm just going to incorporate into this to move it along. But Christina. She's looking great. Everyone's talking about how
it's Ozempic.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clearly something because she got really skinny very quickly. But the thing is that it looks like there's a resurgence in just what she wants to like perform. She's performing a lot. She's doing a lot of photo shoots. Why isn't she getting the Vanguard Award? I mean, they've already awarded to Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, Beyonce, Rihanna. Like,
that is interesting timing.
Well, the rumor is that MTV does not like Christina Aguilera.
No, there's something, but it's because of her. It's because of her last relationship. It's because of her record label that. What was that album that was so good that the record label kind of quashed? But you guys,
and isn't that so Hollywood though? Right, the relationship over the work.
100%. Right? We know Christina's one of the most talented. In my opinion, Christina's one of the most talented performers out there.
She's the most talented
vocalist. She can sing
vocalist.
live wherever you want her to. She can take any song and make it gold. And she does the damn show, no matter what size. We're talking about body positivity. She's been the biggest she's ever been, and she does the show.
And her voice is like probably like, I mean, it's hard to say that about Christina Aguilera because her voice is always great. But even I just watched a video of her doing like one of her old songs, "Come Over Baby," whatever, like "Come On Over," and she like hitting that high note, but then she elevates it and does like another octave higher, and I'm just like, girl, you're still elevating at this. She's kind of reminds. It's like she's like Kelly Clarkson. They're just always elevating their voices. They're clearly working on their instrument.
Yeah, 100%. So she should be getting it.
She should be getting the award.
Can I ask a question? What does the Vanguard Award stands for? Like, what is it? Is it
It's
just...
basically, it used to be like, it was like originally called like the Michael Jackson Vanguard Award, where it was like Michael Jackson was like obviously like for MTV in the 80s when
he made history
with everything that he's done. And so the most prestigious award is getting the Michael Jackson Vanguard Award. But after all of the drama with, you know, him and his career, they removed his name from the award.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a lifetime achievement award.
Yeah,
it's basically,
that's what it sounds like.
It's basically like MTV's version of like a lifetime achievement award for being a singer. There's only been like a very small amount of people that have gotten this award.
But we know the MTV Awards have always been bought. Like the presenters, all that. Yeah. It's always like, who's in the hottest movie?
Obviously this year it's been bought. I mean, it's like the most, like she's had the worst rollout of any album actually ever. And they're giving her the MTV and Vanguard Award. I mean,
Katy Perry has a great creative team behind her. Like she's had, remember the bra that shot things out and like all that.
You know, Marco made that.
So she's had a great creative team behind her, but her as herself, I don't think she has the personality to even do interviews.
I feel like this entire rollout has just been really bad choices. Just bad choices.
If you're a Vanguard Award winner, you know how to, any audience, you go on a radio show, you know how to speak well. You know how to sing for real.
Oh.
Shots fired.
From these.
Yeah, and so my shade of the week, because I always end on like a little bit of shade of the week, and that was something that just happened today. I don't know if it's shade, but it's not really shade, but it's also just like kind of fantastic because everyone loves this man and he's an awful person. But so Shiloh Jolie Pitt was approved today to have Pitt removed from her surname. So now she's just Shiloh Jolie.
Such a beautiful girl.
Such a beautiful girl.
She's gonna be a model.
But what bugs me though is that this is going so far. What bugs me is this is going so far under the table that, you know, like this is about Brad Pitt and about how he's an abusive person. And obviously his family can't stand him so much to the point of having his name removed from their surname. This is just going under the radar. Because then all of a sudden we're going to see probably in a week, 55-year-old Brad Pitt looking sexy with his shirt off, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just, all the media is ignoring the fact that he actually is like...
His daughter's trying to stand up for herself.
Yeah, and like his other children as well. They have spoken out about him. Max has said something.
But again, it's that relationship over the truth. And, we'll always protect that Brad Pitt archetype over women and children.
The hot, sexy, white man. Yes. Yep.
Say it again, girl, for the people in the back.
Protecting that white male archetype over women and children.
Straight white male. Straight white male. Straight
white male. Straight white male. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. Here's the only thing that I have to say.
Sorry. Corrected.
I think when family situations get involved, I think it's so damaging to everybody involved, whether you're,
Well, you heard about
cis straight white male. I'm adding that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
But like, we don't know what happens behind doors. We know celebrities lead such a weird life where they're not connected with their kids, from what I've seen.
Agreed.
And so I think when it gets to the family level, it gets so sad and tragic, and that we don't know what's really going on.
And it's very brave. How old is Shiloh? She's not like 18 yet, right?
Yeah, that's why she had to get like approval or something.
So how brave of her, coming from being the child of two of the most famous people in the world, to make that public statement,
right?
As a child. That's
she's
brave.
18.
Oh, so maybe that's why. I think you have to do it at 18 years old to do it yourself. Yeah. Otherwise, your parent has to do it.
She's 18.
Yeah, she just is. Yeah.
We've seen celebrity couples where there are two kids, one goes with one and one goes with the other, and so we just don't know what's happening.
Right.
It's a huge her first adult decision, first independent decision.
Yep.
That's very powerful, especially if she is.
She looks so much like her mother.
Reasons.
She looks so much like Angelina.
Yeah.
And Brad is sober now, so maybe he's paying for things that he did in the past.
I don't know, but that whole plane incident was not that long ago.
I don't want to be killed by Hollywood Mafia.
Anyway, that's the pop culture report.
Thank you, Stephen. Folks, this has been such a great chat about history, about art, about sexuality, sensuality. I want to go down the line and give us your handle and give us your message to your fans. Jerome. And I just want to say that all night, by the way. Jerome.
Jerome. My Instagram is at Horsegurl3000.
And it's girl.
Girl with a U. And what is my message for the world? What is the
your fans, the community, whatever you want.
Your pageant moment.
Just be you, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, just be you. Don't be confident. I don't know what to say. Just have fun.
Yay. And mine is Miss Tosh. My name, pretty easy. And my message is come to see us at Voss Speakeasy, right? Come see the Vault. And we'll be looking forward to entertaining you all.
And how about your message to queer women that might be a glamour puss?
My girls? Okay. Well, I think that there's still a lot of work to be done for the queer community overall. And I think the best way that we can keep on keeping on is just to live as authentically as possible. And if you're isolated and alone, you can reach out to me anytime. There's always a community. I do my best to reach out and connect with all of you dolls. So I don't want people to feel isolated and alone because I know a lot of young people are in this country, specifically right now. So it's important that we come together. You have a community and I celebrate you.
And look for the wraparound velvet smoking jacket.
And
the Hefner.
The Hefner to the Harler.
Yeah.
Harlow. I said Harler. I didn't even say no product.
And you're not drinking.
Not at all.
Stephen, where can people follow you and what's your message?
You can follow me at The Only Stephen. Pretty self-explanatory. It's and also on Twitter and Facebook it's just my name. And then my message is don't let fear dictate your decisions.
Y'all are good.
That's
I was
bad.
like such a disappointment.
Not at all, honey. You were saying have fun.
Be you is so important.
Be you and have fun.
And look, you were you and look where you are.
Yeah.
There you go.
Boom.
What's
Yeah.
life without living, babe?
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone's just looking at me.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. I'm Miss Miranda. My handle is Miss Miranda, which is easy. My message would be stay weird.
Yeah.
Stay weird, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And read the original Peter Pan if you want the real story.
Yes, it is good. It's good. I recommend.
It's been such a pleasure to share a room with artists like you folks with such a diverse background. Thank you, Stephen, for bringing them.
Of course.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course.
thank you.
Go see Vault Speakeasy, and who knows what the next iteration will be and what the next iteration will be, right?
Yes, we do have a Christmas show, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
we do?
Yes.
We have a
That's
lot of our
confirmed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Better have sexy Santa. That's all I gotta say. That's all, folks. It's always a grab bag of fun here on The Rocks. A big thank you to our engineer and station owner, Tony Sweet. Coming up, we have Taylor Armstrong from Real Housewives of Orange County and Beverly Hills. We have Drag Race to Scarlet Envy, Dexter Carr from Hulu's Playground, Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce's favorite dancer, by the way. And for Halloween, we're kicking it off with a celebrity exorcist, and I've already chatted with her. It is the most wild conversation I've ever had in my entire life. All that's coming your way. Please like, share, subscribe so we can bring the show to you coming for free. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy. And if you drink, stay tipsy.
Hey.
This has been another episode of On the Rocks. Tweet me, slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On the Rocks On Air. Find everything On the Rocks for free at OnTheRocksRadioShow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.